Storytime, I became a stepmom at 22 and my stepkids hate me. So a little background information, I was 22 and working at Hooters, and I had this one regular who literally came in every single day that I worked. I mean, it wasn't really creepy because I did give him my schedule because he tipped really well, but that's besides the point. The one night he asked me out, and obviously I knew that he was going to pay for our dinner, so I said yes, because I was hungry and I did not want to pay for food. So anyways, I go on this date and I actually end up really liking him, just to find out that he is 40 years old. Fast forward a few months, we start dating, and he realizes that I still live at home with my mom and dad. So he's like, oh, like, you can move in with me, but first you need to meet my kids. And I, thought that his kids were going to be, 2 and 3 years old. No, when I went over to dinner the one night at their house, there were 4 kids who were literally all above the age 13. And every single one of the girls gave me a death stare as I sat down in my chair, for part 2. Part 2 about how I became a stepmom at 22 and my stepkids hate me. So like I said, we're all sitting down in the dining room and there's 4 kids. There's 1 boy, 3 girls. The one boy is 14 and all the other girls are 15, 16, and 19. And we're going to call my boyfriend James. James is like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the kitchen and finish cooking. You guys should bond a little bit. So he leaves me alone with these little fucking roaches and they just start firing shots at me. They're like, you're a gold digger, aren't you? Don't worry, my dad will never marry you, so you're not going to get any of his money. So after that, I told James that they need to warm up to me a little bit more before I move in. So for the next month, we would try to plan things with the kids. But anytime that I was going to be there, every single one of them would be like, we're not going, we hate her. Eventually, James just kind of said fuck it and he asked me to marry him. So I moved in and then a week later we got married. His kids didn't show up to the wedding and James had to go on a work trip. So I was moving some of my stuff into the house from the car and the kids fucking locked me out of the house. This has all been within the span of 5 months. What should I do? Storytime, I didn't know that I was dating my best friend's brother. So a little background information, I was 17 and a junior in high school. And I know you guys are probably thinking, how the fuck didn't you know that you were dating your best friend's brother? And we're gonna call my best friend Rima and we're gonna call her brother Alex. So I had met Alex whenever I was in 5th grade. We never hung out outside of school. We were more of just friends in school. But I only met Rima last year. Also, Alex was a year older than us. Well, one of the art teachers who usually taught the senior class, she just gave birth to her baby, so they decided to mix both of our classes, aka the one that Alex was in. Well, my art teacher decided to pair us all into partners and have us do an art project. So I got paired up with Alex. Fast forward, we end up liking each other and we start dating. And usually whenever Rima and I hung out, we would always hang out over my house, because she said her family was annoying, and Alex and I would only hang out during school, for part 2. Part 2 about how I didn't know that I was dating my best friend's brother. So like I said, we always hung out at my house because she never wanted to hang out at hers, but this weekend her whole family was supposed to be gone, so she wanted to throw a party. And she was like, OMG, you should definitely invite that guy that you like. Now listen, I know you guys think it's weird that she probably didn't even know that I had a boyfriend. Whenever I had talked to people that were best friends with her before, and yes, multiple best friends. This girl went through best friends like she goes through underwear. They had all said to not let her know who you like or who you're dating, because she would either try to get with them or she would get with them. And if she couldn't get with them, she would just send them nudes out of nowhere. So fast forward, I get to the party. She comes up to me. She's like, I'm so fucking annoyed. My brother's here. And then she was like, oh, did you bring the guy that you like? And I was like, no. And then I walk into the living room and I see my boyfriend. So I go over and I give him a hug and a kiss, and Rima starts screaming at me. After that, she told her brother that I bullied her so that way he would break up with me, and he did. Storytime about how my aunt kidnapped my dog. So a little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade. I had a 4-month-old puppy that I would take care of because since I wanted the dog, my parents were like, you have to take care of him, blah, 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 blah. So put him in the crate, went to school, came home, thought everything was good, until my dog is missing. So now I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's literally a 4-month-old puppy. Anyways, I searched around the house to see if he maybe escaped or he was hiding under the beds or something, but he was nowhere to be found. So I asked the neighbors to keep a lookout for him and even put up missing posters everywhere. And when my parents got home, I told them the situation and they were like, oh, honey, he probably ran away, but he'll probably be back tonight. Yeah, fast forward 5 hours, he still wasn't home. So my dad was like, go to sleep. He'll be back in the morning. So I went to sleep, or I tried, but then I couldn't sleep, so I got up and got some melatonin. For part 2. Part 2 about how my aunt kidnapped my dog. So like I said, my dad was like, go to sleep, and I went to try to go to sleep, but I couldn't because my dog was freaking missing. So I go downstairs to get some melatonin when I hear my dad talking shit on the phone to my aunt. He was talking about something with the dog, but my dumbass starts walking across the floor, and all of a sudden the floor creaks, so I run upstairs, get back into bed, and go to sleep. So the next day after school, I tell my dad I'm going to go to my aunt's house, because she didn't live too far away, and I thought, okay, well, maybe she's seen him run around her neighborhood, whatever. And he was like super off about it at first, but he was like, fine, whatever, go to your aunt's house. So I get to her house, and I walk in, and I hear dogs barking. One dog, because she didn't have any fucking dogs. And I walk over to the backyard, and what do you know, my puppy is sitting in her fucking backyard. So I brought my dog home and told my dad. And he got really mad. It turns out he didn't even want the dog in the first place, so he gave her to my aunt. He apologized and we're good now, but
I, 35 male, have been with my partner, female, 30, for 8 years. As of tomorrow, she's 5 months pregnant with our first. I got this 4-day, 3-night trip that isn't much of a trip at all, as it's only 40 minutes from our house. It is a glamping tent that she has wanted to stay in for some time. Minutes from her work, she planned to still go doing morning care 6:30 to 9 a.m. and Arvo care 3 to 6:30 p.m., splitting the shift instead of the whole day. I put in 4 days leave. So after my last shift, we were leaving the next day, and I called her and told her that I wanted to get some drinks on the way home, and she went silent. I asked what was wrong, and she said that this trip is important to me. Please don't do this to me. I got a couple bottles of drinks since I figured that I could spend the next few days recovering on our trip. I got blind drunk and then went off for a walk to the pub where I drank more. Around 5 a.m., I must have called her because she picked me up. I woke up later that day around 4ish, and she was gone. Her bag was gone. The food she packed for us was gone. When I called her, she said that she's on our trip and wants to be alone, that all she asks is for me not to drink, and that she isn't going to spend the next few days dealing with me and my moodiness. I just wanted to have a bit of a piss up since I don't have to worry about going into work. I work hard 6 days a week, and I feel like I should be allowed to have a drink when I'm starting a holiday. I'm angry that she went on the trip that I paid for and is acting like me having a few drinks makes me an asshole. I think her going on our trip alone and not even trying to wake me up so we could both go makes her the asshole. What do you think? Am I the asshole or is she?
I'd probably be a terrible 911 dispatcher. God forbid you have to call 911. And I answer the phone. 911, what's your emergency? There's a guy trying to get in your house. Well, did you lock the door? You didn't lock the door? Well, that was dumb, huh? I mean, like, you don't watch movies or... No, I'm sending the cops. They're on their way, but it's going to be like 15 minutes. You better find a hiding spot.
I live with a roommate and her 3-year-old child. My roommate is a 4th-year medical student and is really struggling, having to balance with the child, intense study workload, chores and part-time jobs to afford rent, babysitter and necessities. On the day of the biggest exam of her entire degree, her babysitter canceled last minute. She was absolutely frantic and hysterically called every one of her contacts to help. Of course, she asked me. She has asked me to babysit before, and I always give her stern no. It's not the time that I need to spend, since I'm perfectly fine with swapping around chores, but the principle that I must be responsible for the child for the duration. For example, if the child hurts himself, no matter how badly, it would be on me. And I refuse to take the responsibility for something like that, so I always refuse to babysit. She begged and begged me, and since the journey to her exam is almost 2 hours away and she needed to go now, she just said, I don't fucking care, and left the house. Frankly, I found this quite disrespectful as it's trying to push me to babysit without my consent. Right after she left, I grabbed my coat and also left. She was starting her car when she saw me and asked what I was doing. I told her that I was going to watch a movie. I lied. I just refused to babysit without consent. Her eyes dropped and I could see the tears forming as she started begging me more to help her. I still explained the same thing, that it's not the time or effort, but the responsibility. She told me that she would sign a waiver that states that I'm 100% not responsible no matter what happens. I'm not an expert in law, but I'm not sure if a waiver is even legally enforceable. Even so, it still carries a responsibility risk, so I stand my ground. Eventually, she became quiet and started sobbing whilst hitting herself. I, as respectfully as I can, asked if there's anything I can help with that does not involve babysitting the child. She told me to fuck off, so I did, and I actually went to watch a movie. It's been a few weeks and she still absolutely refuses to communicate with me. She still does her share of chores and we were pretty separate beforehand, so it wasn't that much of a difference in day-to-day life. I do feel pretty bad since I've seen from the past 2 years we've lived together that she has almost no free time and always sleeps later than me and wakes up earlier than me to cram a little bit of extra study time. I know the exam meant a lot to her and missing the exam might jeopardize her entire degree of 4 years. It sucks that her efforts for the past 2 years have gone on the drain, but that's not an excuse to cross my bottom line. Am I the asshole for forcing my roommate to miss her final exam that she spent 2 years studying for? Storytime about when my entitled boss almost killed me and got himself arrested and fired. I'm allergic to hand sanitizer, alcohol wipes, and generally anything that has alcohol-based products. I even bring my own soap because I can have a reaction to some soaps. I can't even drink the stuff without my lips swelling. My old boss was my cousin, so when COVID hit, I didn't really have a problem until my cousin got promoted and got transferred to a new office. Enter our new boss. We got a mass email going over our new COVID safety procedures, and one of the new procedures is that we have to use hand sanitizer and antiseptic wipes. I sent an email to HR telling them about my allergies with my medical documents. They sent back saying that I don't have to use the hand sanitizer and the antiseptic wipes and that they put it in my file. However, when I sent that exact email to my new boss, he replied saying that all employees have to follow the new COVID safety procedures, no exceptions. When I replied that if I use those products, I'll need medical assistance, he sent me another email saying that if any employee doesn't follow the new COVID safety procedures correctly, then they would be fired. I sent copies of the emails to our union rep and HR department, to which they replied that they would talk to him and kind of just told me to ignore him unless he tries to actually fire me. So I go into work and my new boss is literally waiting for me at my desk with a bottle of hand sanitizer in his hands, asking me to hold up my hands. I replied, no thanks, I'd rather not go to the hospital today. He got mad and literally grabbed my hand and squirted hand sanitizer in it and then rubbed it in. While he was doing it, he said, now that wasn't so bad. I tried to go to the bathroom to wash it off, but he blocked me. Well, I had a bad reaction. Thank God I had my EpiPen at my desk. My boss kept saying that he thought I was lying and kept saying it until I was put into an ambulance and couldn't hear him anymore. A member of the HR department and legal department came to visit me in the hospital, probably making sure that I don't sue and informing me that he was fired. She also said that they called the police on